It's a very disappointing order, and I keep getting disappointed more and more when I read orders where judges don't recognize the importance of liberty, where judges don't understand that liberty is one of the most fundamental of rights. Even if, is the judge not aware of what is the mother-son relationship? Have we become so inhuman that we don't even care what is the relationship with the mother and the son? Even the son just holding the hand of the mother is a great deal of comfort for her. And he's not a convict, I've said that earlier. He's still an under trial. The reasons he gave are not logical. The reasons they gave are not informative. I don't know. Maybe when it's Umar Khalid, they just don't want to give bail. Anybody else? We have godmen convicted of rape and murder who get furlough every 4 months.
Yeah.
But an under trial doesn't get.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. A day after the Supreme Court critiqued its own order refusing bail to former JNU student Umar Khalid, a Delhi court has now denied him interim bail for taking care of his mother after a surgery and attending post-death rituals of uncle, saying that the reasons did not seem just. Now, in his 4-page order, which came on Tuesday, Karkarduma Court Additional Sessions Judge Samir Bajpai concluded that Khalid's mother could be cared for by his sisters and father as well, while his late uncle was not a close relative. Khalid had approached the court seeking 15-day interim bail to tend to his ailing mother who had undergone a surgery and to attend the 40-day post-death ritual called Chelam for his late uncle who passed away a month ago. Now, attending the Chelam ceremony of his uncle is not necessary. The things would have been different if the ceremony was of a person who was in immediate relation with the applicant, quote unquote. Now, this is the court ruling in its May 19th order. These are the words which the court has written in the order. As far as the surgery of the mother is concerned, the court noted that the applicant has himself said that he has 5 sisters. And even though they do not live nearby, they could definitely be expected to come help their mother, said the court. It also said that Umar's mother's surgery was actually a very simple one and concerned only the removal of lumps. There seems to be no actual requirement or help from Khalid's side in this case. This is what the court concluded. Now, what the lawyers also said and the kind of arguments which they made, we try and discuss. But was this a just order? Denying the interim bail to Umar Khalid. So we'll try and discuss this with our guest today. Is a special person, retired Supreme Court Judge Justice Deepak Gupta joins us. So thank you so much for joining. And what would you really say to this order by the Karkarduma Sessions Court judge who's written an order like this? In your view, how is it? How would you read this order?
It's a very disappointing order, and I keep getting disappointed more and more when I read orders where judges don't recognize the importance of liberty, where judges don't understand that liberty is one of the most fundamental of rights. And Umar Khalid is only an under trial. He may be an under trial in a UAPA case, but nevertheless, he's an under trial. And as you said, Neelu, yesterday only the Supreme Court had, in very strong terms, had commented on the denial of bail to Umar Khalid. Therefore, I don't know, this order may have come earlier, but not to grant bail, interim bail that too. The court also notes, the district session judge also notes that he has earlier been granted interim bail and has always complied with the conditions of bail. Now, there were 2 grounds. One was the mother had undergone an operation and that he wanted to take care of his mother. I mean, even if, I mean, is the judge not aware of what is the mother-son relationship? Have we become so inhuman that we don't even care what is the relationship with the mother and the son? Even the son's just holding the hand of the mother is a great deal of comfort for her. And he's not a convict, I've said that earlier. He's still an under trial. And he could have been, the conditions could have been placed, he could have easily been granted. The other ceremony of his uncle, the Chelam ceremony, I mean, it's a very important ceremony. It's like what we have the Kriya or the Chautha in the Hindus, they have the Chelam ceremony. So it's a very, very important ceremony, and I see no reason why the judge should have not released Umar Khalid on interim bail.
So, how would you look at this order, Justice Gupta? Because you were saying that it's very disappointing. That's what you said. But why did the additional sessions judge choose to give an order like this? Every order should have a logic, should have a basis. But here it seemed that the reasons which he's picked on seem to have really no logic.
Well, I can't say why the session judge did this, because why only he can answer. All I can say is the reasons he gave are not logical. The reasons he gave are not in accordance with law. I mean, yesterday Justice Nagaratna and Justice Bhuya in that case, while granting bail, have very clearly said that is a right to bail, especially after a long trial, is a fundamental right. And here is not even considering a bail application, he is considering an interim bail application. I don't know. Maybe when it's Umar Khalid, they just don't want to get bail. Anybody else? We have godmen convicted of rape and murder who get furlough every 4 months.
Yeah.
But an under trial doesn't get bail to look after the mother.
You are saying that he's Umar Khalid, which is why he doesn't get a bail, or is it because of the UAPA case? Or is it because of the UAPA case?
I can give you hundreds of examples in UAPA cases where people are now out. I mean, there are so many other cases. And here it was not even a case, it was interim bail for 15 days to look after his mother. Now the judge is picking holes. There are sisters. They're not in Delhi, but they're somewhere else. Why they can come? Why can't he? And as I said earlier, the mother just holding her son's hand would feel much happier.
Absolutely.
I mean,
we
become insensitive. Sometimes, are we inhuman? As judges, we're also supposed to be sensitive to what human beings are like. It's not only Umar Khalid, what are his mother's feelings? And again, I'll emphasize, he's not a convict. The trial has not even started, virtually not started after 6-7 years. And the process has become the punishment. And that is why I commend the Supreme Court on yesterday's order that yes, what the three judges said, and I said it probably in your show earlier, that definitely in my view, when trial is delayed so long, bail must be granted. Right to liberty is a fundamental right. Right to free, speedy trial is also a fundamental right.
No, but what I'm more worried about is the fact that here there is an additional sessions judge who doesn't even pay heed to what the Supreme Court has said just one day before, and just one day before.
Sorry, there I think maybe his order is a day early. He may have passed the order earlier. I don't think his order is after the Supreme Court order. It might. I'm not very sure. It might have been released.
Monday was the Supreme Court order. Tuesday, Umar Khalid's order came. So that's what's happening.
I'm not examined it from that angle, so I'm not very sure. But if it has come after the Supreme Court order, where they've even doubted the order of the another bench of the Supreme Court, then it's all the more worse. I was under the impression maybe he had written the order.
No,
Or
most of the stories which have appeared, they are all saying that a day after Supreme Court
I'm not
critiques its own order.
I
Yeah,
don't go by stories. I don't know the dates exactly because none of them is saying exactly. Session judge's order gets reported 2 3 days later, so I'm not very sure. So I'd not like to comment on that.
right. No, but whenever there is a matter of interim bail, is it not treated as an exigency? That it's treated as an exigency, and mostly the courts do grant interim bail.
Yeah, especially for reasons like this, to look after your mother, to attend some death ceremony, etc. Please remember the Chelam ceremony, as I said earlier, is very important for Muslims. In there, it's like what we have the Chautha or the Kiriya, they have a Chelam. So every member of the family, even if it's not only close relatives who go for this ceremony. All relatives go for the ceremony. Okay, even if that had not to be granted, but for the mother it should have been granted. Just because there are sisters or father to look after is not a reason why a son should not look after his mother. If you
Absolutely. And in fact, you use the right word that it's insensitive, it's inhumane. That's the kind of observation which the judge has given. But my another question to you, sir, is there a general trend that the trial courts often deny bail? When there is an order of the higher court denying bail to the accused, do you find a trend here? Uh,
No, I find a trend that most trial courts just refuse to grant. There is, even though the Supreme Court keeps saying time and again that they should be much more liberal and all. One, they're scared. It appears to me they're scared. Two, which is very sad because judges, I think, one of the most important attribute for a judge is to be fearless, to have spine. And therefore, if judges are scared, I'm very worried. I can tell you, Neelu, in my experience, when I was Chief Justice in Chhattisgarh, I found a similar situation where judges were not just granting bail. So I talked to this, I mean, one to one I had talked, why don't you grant bail in these cases? So they said, sir, हम bail grant करते हैं तो allegation लगती है कि पैसे खा लिए, you've taken money, or sometimes Supreme Court, the High Court starts, like in a case where a bail is rejected, interim bail is rejected, by anticipatory bail is rejected by the High Court, but regular bail is given by the trial court. I find that in Chhattisgarh, there were disciplinary proceedings started against the judge, which I stopped all those disciplinary proceedings and nothing doing. If you find the order is wrong, take it up in the judicial side and hear both sides and decide whether the order is wrong. But then judges do get scared. See, we all say bail, not jail is the rule. But in practical terms, that's not happening. Especially in cases which are, I'm not saying sensitive, cases which are very much in the public eye, which are in the public domain as important cases, UPA, etc. is involved. I've talked about the Umar Khalid case so many times earlier. I'm not going to the merits of the case. I feel on merits also there's nothing in that case. And that's why the government has nothing else to do but to delay the trial. Again, you've lost. I can't hear you. I can't.
No, like what you said, that the trial court judges are often scared that there'll be allegations on them, they've taken bribe or they've taken money or whatever. But in this particular case, do you think that what could have been the constraints in the mind of the judge? Of course, we were not there. What the judge thought.
I can only comment on what I feel about the order, but what was in his mind, I can't second guess what was in his mind.
No, but do you think that there is a larger message somewhere down the line, like what you said, that it's Umar Khalid, and which is why the bail has not been granted? So if that was the overriding factor,
I said what I have to say. It may be because I feel there's some cases which are looked at with a totally different angle, and not only through the prism of the legal nuances with grant of bail, which is sad, and it should not be like that. But I don't know about this case. I don't want to comment again because I'm not sure whether this order came earlier to the Supreme Court order or later than the Supreme Court order. If it came later, then it's even worse.
It did come later. That's what I'm reading everywhere. But the point is that if you have to look at the whole case, or the justice has to be viewed through the prism of a religious background of the person who is in jail, what can one really say? That just because he's a Muslim, he's
That,
overcome.
that is very sad. I mean, if it is only being denied, I'm not saying because of religious background, but more because his name itself has become. You see, you have those cases. You are the Gautam Navalakhas and all. That's no religious. So I'm not bringing religion into it, but people who are seen to be, well, urban Naxals, or seem to be having a very extreme leftist sort of a thing. I mean, I may not support their ideology. I don't support their ideology at all. But I wholeheartedly support their right to express their views in a peaceful manner. Now, if they've done something unpeaceful, they'll face the consequences. No, but they can't be denied also the right to a speedy trial. 6.5, 7 years behind bar, he should have been out on bail. And now he's only asking for interim bail. I see no reason why it should not have been granted. That's all I can say.
No, but is there a deliberate message?
No, I
behind this?
I won't go to that extent because I don't know. See, for that, I don't want to draw conclusions just from an order or something. I don't know what went into the mind. I don't even know what was argued. So I don't want to go into that aspect of it. I can't see putting it deliberate or something is attributing so many things which I wouldn't like to do at the back of anybody, least of all the session judge concerned. I may not agree with him, but I'm not going to impute motives to him.
Yeah.
Let him be.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You don't want to attribute motives, which is fair enough, sir. But then there is a growing tendency, to deny the bail, and this is something which should be funded. Yes, sir.
That I've said earlier also, I'm saying it again, that the constitutional courts, especially the High Court and the Supreme Court, are not only the adjudicator of disputes between the parties, but they uphold and protect the fundamental rights of the citizens. And one of the fundamental rights is the right of liberty. One of the fundamental rights is the right to a speedy trial. Now, if you can't grant bail under UAPA, let's assuming the order not granting bail, it can't be granted bail, then at least ensure a speedy trial. You can't say we will not give him a speedy trial also and we won't grant him bail also. It can't be a double whammy that he's denied of everything. And now he's being even denied the right to meet his mother. He's not saying that permanently I want to go when it's not disputed that his mother underwent an operation. It may not be a very serious operation, but even a 1-day hospitalization or a 2-day hospitalization of a mother, the son and the mother being together he may not have granted it for 1 week, 15 days. The judge could have said, okay,
15
3
days or
days.
so. Yeah.
He thought 15 days. The judge could have said, okay, you go for 3 days.
Yeah.
Meet your mother. But to deny it totally is totally illegal in my view. Not only illegal, but it's also inhuman.
But how do these erring judges who give orders like these, which are inhumane, which are insensitive, and which are illegal as well, like what you said, can anybody do anything to these judges to school them that, look, this is what the basics are and you've gone wrong? Who's going to tell them?
That's what the High Court should be doing. But the High Courts themselves are now not granting bail very often.
Right.
So it's a systematic, I don't know what can I say, it's not, human rights are suffering, that's all I can say.
But, I just like what you said, that even high courts are denying bail, so are the trial courts. Do you see a pattern? Pardon, sir?
No, you said, do you see a pattern somewhere?
Yes.
I do see a pattern where people are becoming more negative towards grant of bail. When I started practice in 78 and all, when Justice Krishna Iyer and all were sitting in the Supreme Court, there was this feeling that the judges, all courts are there to protect the rights of the citizens. Right now, I think that gets a backseat. Right now, as soon as the government council says the security of the nation is that, you wave the magic wand of the security of the state and anti-national and all, and the courts are very, very reluctant to grant bail. I think that's not a good trend.
No,
Because
but
it's
how
not,
does this malady get corrected, Justice Gupta? Because this is something dangerous. It
it has
plays
to
with
be,
the lives of the humans.
it has to be corrected as by the order by Justice Rajaratnam and Justice Ujjwal Bhaiya. It is the Supreme Court who will school the High Courts, and the High Courts which in turn will have to do that. This can't be done by you and me. It definitely won't be done by the government. It has to be done by the High Court, because the district judiciary comes under the High Courts. They have judicial academies, state judicial academies, we have national judicial academies. I think it's high time that on bail, some actual classes are held on how, in which cases should not deny bail. And it's not that I find, leave aside Umar Khalid and all, at least he's charged with a serious offense. I find people charged with very simple offenses not being granted bail, or with the bail being denied on very frivolous reason. It's a very worrying thing which is happening.
No, but I still remember that, when these older laws were being scrapped and this Bharat Nyaya Samhita and all the laws were being brought, at that point of time, Home Minister Amit Shah on the floor of the House said that now people won't be incarcerated, for long, and people will get justice soon. This when you see this particular case of Umar Khalid, it belies all that.
No, but I don't want to comment on what's said in Parliament or outside, but the new laws are nothing but a rehash of the old laws. You change the names, you change the number of the sections, but by and large, I'd say almost 90%, they were to be similar to the older laws.
No, but do you think that these new laws, right? But
Even there they've made 67 and all a slight change, but there's not material change.
But sir, like the fundamental things like the civil liberties and the right to speedy trial, the courts are almost they look like dragging their feet almost. Now, have the courts really forgotten to be humane and sensitive, or have they forgotten the basic rules of law, or is there some political pressure, or they do it because of some political pressure?
I don't know about political pressure because nobody's ever tried to pressurize me or something. I've never faced that. But I can say that I think it's more than political pressure, is the little fear, especially in the district judiciary. They feel they may be taken to task by the High Court, or allegations may be made or something. They just want to say कि हमने bail नहीं दी, High Court से ले लो. See, the attitude is somewhat like this. I'm not going to grant you bail, because the other aspect is that every order is under question, and every order is in social media, in public, every order is commented on, like we are commenting on one order. So they tend to err if they are, because I still have great faith in the judiciary, especially the district judiciary. I find some of our judges are brilliant there. But they have to be schooled, they have to be trained, they have to be retrained maybe on what are the principles for grant of bail and why bail should be granted by each other.
Justice Gupta, I'm really constrained to ask you one question, and I was reminded of that line from Geoffrey Chaucer, that if the gold rusts, then what shall iron do? And here, in terms of the justice, when we see the topmost person sitting on the CJI's chair using words like cockroach for youngsters, and he did use it very, very clearly. How are we so hopeful then? You said that you're very hopeful of the judiciary. Of course, we should be hopeful of the judiciary. But when the person sitting in the highest chair makes a comment like this, what is the hope left then, sir?
No, I'd not like to make any comment on that, because I've read it only on newspapers, and the Chief Justice has given his explanation. I am nobody to comment on, and I'll refrain from talking on that issue.
But right, but do you think that the courts are really dealing with this bail question with an iron hand?
I've already said that I feel courts are not dealing properly with the rights of citizens, and human rights are suffering because in many cases, not only Umar Khalid, in many cases bail is being denied. when it is the rightful right of a citizen.
But would you say that this is a violation of democratic rights as well?
Yeah, why not? Because to be a free citizen is also part of democratic right. So obviously, when you see the right can be denied in accordance with law. So the right to liberty is also a right which is subject to certain constraints, and one of the constraints is that your right to liberty can be constrained because of certain acts. So if you commit a crime, your liberty can be curtailed. But
No,
then,
why
as I said,
I really asked you this question was that yesterday in Norway, a Norwegian correspondent was asking a similar question to Prime Minister Modi.
I am not going to get into this. Let me clear. I'm only come to talk about that order and not about what happens in Norway or whatever. I'm not on those issues. I'm not
No,
like to. I am.
human rights violations issue was
I'm
mentioned.
sorry. We had. You asked me to comment on something. I've come only with that. I'm not prepared on anything else.
But how hopeful are you about Umar Khalid's bail, sir? Why when should he be getting the
I,
bail? We don't know. That's
I think.
anybody's guess.
I think, in my view, he should have got it yesterday. Hope is something which may be belied, but I thought he should have got it when it was rejected by the Supreme Court.
But what if I were to talk about, though you've spoken earlier also about the merits of Umar Khalid's case, you've
No,
spoken a lot.
today we are only constrained on this issue. Merits is this. Even after the Supreme Court order was passed, I've spoken about it either with you or with somebody else. I'm not going to go into the merits.
Right. Okay, so
Okay.
one piece of advice.
I have a hearing at 6. I have to get over.
Yeah. No. Just one last question, and then we're going to wind up, sir. That if I were to ask you to give your advice to the additional sessions judge, what would that advice be?
To think again, not only to study the law with regard to bail, right from Gurbakh Singh Sibia and other cases, state of Rajasthan, Gurbakh Singh Sibia, reiterated in a judgment of the present Chief Justice, reiterated by Justice Ujjwal Bhaiya, even the judgment which denies bail to Umar Khalid grants bail to many others. Right? There are, if we read those judgments clearly, he will see what are the limitations. And then he must see, when dealing with interim bail issues, what is the human side of it. You have to be sensitive to human beings. A person who is an accused or even a convict is still a human being. He's not deprived of all his human rights. He must be given the respect and dignity which is due to any citizen of this country.
Thank you, Justice Gupta. Thank you so much for joining on HW. Thank you.